Yoshi, why are you releasing an update this time of night? It's bedtime. Dude, you can't just be releasing balance patches at almost midnight. That's not okay. Get some rest. Anyways, we've got another set of balance changes here, and this one is actually way more substantial than the previous set that I covered just a day ago. We've got another round of balance changes for Graves and Bebop, some changes for some items as well, and they really listened to a lot of the feedback around Silver regarding her clunkiness and the power of both her human and her werewolf form. So first of all, let's talk about the Silver balance changes. There is a ton to go over here. First of all, they made her shoot faster. Finally, she can deny souls on the lane after last hitting a creep. This is about an 11% DPS increase. They haven't taken any damage out of the pellets, so this is just a raw buff to her gun, and honestly, it's very welcome. They also increased the base magazine size from 5 to 6, and increased her base health regen from 2 to 2.5, which is all very nice. Now let's take a look at the Slamfire. This got a ton of adjustments. First of all, the cooldown has been increased from 20 seconds to 22 seconds, and they swapped around the Tier 1 and Tier 2 upgrades. So now the Tier 1 upgrade is providing just 15% weapon damage, but the Tier 2 is now granting 7 seconds of cooldown reduction. So compared to before, if you put 2 points into it just like this, you are getting 1 second more cooldown reduction, but 15% less damage. Finally, they nerfed the Tier 3 from 10% current health to 8% current health, which is fair enough, because holy crap, this thing shreds. So, yeah, alright, I'm okay with that. They gave the boot kick a very powerful Tier 3 upgrade, so now you still reduce enemy damage, but you also get plus 80 bonus damage when you shoot the target. That is a 4x boost, ladies and gentlemen, going from 25 bonus damage to 105 bonus damage. Alright, that's cool. Entangling Bolo's Tier 3 also got some love. It now has 5 seconds of ability cooldown in addition to ricocheting to 2 targets, so just a 15-second cooldown on that now. The Lycan Curse also got a metric crap ton of changes. So, first of all, it got some quality of life fixes. First of all, you no longer slow yourself while shooting. This was actually previously the case. It was intended that she would slow herself while shooting during the human form, but not the werewolf form. Instead, it was reversed. So that feels good. And they increased the attack range by half a meter. So very nice changes there. However, it's not all good, so let's take a look at that now. First of all, headshot resistance during Lycan Curse has been reduced from 35% down to just 20%, so you take a lot more headshot damage now. And they also made it so that Lycan Curse requires much more damage to transform later in the game. If I max level myself, I am not going to be getting nearly as much charge as I did before, so yeah, that's going to take a while to build up. And furthermore, as you might have noticed if you were paying attention, they drastically increased the cooldown, going from 22 seconds up to 35 seconds. That's a very harsh nerf, but considering how frequently she could transform in the hands of a skilled player, alright, fair enough. It does keep getting worse for the werewolf, though. They also reduced the base health bonus from 350 down to 100. If I reset hero, you can see that here. And they reduced the move speed bonus from 3 meters to 2 meters, probably to compensate for the weapon now being fixed. And they also nerfed many of the abilities. Go for the Throat's missing health damage has been reduced from 8% to 6%, and the Tier 3 upgrade went from 5% to 4%. This thing is incredibly bursty, though, so that's alright. And finally, they also increased the cooldown of this ability from 5 seconds to 6.5 seconds. Oh, and don't worry, I didn't forget, they did also fix Point Blank working on the werewolf. So as you can see, I'm doing 25 damage, and now if I buy Point Blank, instead of doing 30 damage, we now do 43 damage. A substantial improvement. This item is working as intended. So the overall trend with Silver here is that the human form got a lot stronger and more fluid to use, while the werewolf did see some quality of life improvements, but overall got substantially weaker. And that honestly makes a ton of sense, and it really seems like they're listening to the community feedback super closely to try and make her as good of a character as she can be, and yeah, I for one welcome all of these changes. Man, Bebop mains cannot catch a break. This character is getting another round of just flat nerfs. So, first of all, Uppercut Tier 3 has been reduced from 20% missing health to 17% missing health, a little bit less healing on that. The Sticky Bomb fuse timer has been increased from 3 seconds to 3.5 seconds. More time for the enemies to react and use their abilities to defend themselves from this. Oh boy. And they also drastically reduced the radius, from 12 meters down to 10 meters. That really hurts this character, especially because it also makes percent scaling items like Greater Expansion worse. So that sucks for Bebop. And the Sticky Bomb hit and kill spirit scaling has also been reduced. Went from 0.002 to 0.0012 on the Sticky Bomb hit, although it rounds up to 0.002 on the UI here. And they also reduced the hero kill spirit scaling from 0.0015 to 0.01. Actually, wait a second, that's a buff? Wait, it also says that in-game. It says reduced on the patch notes. I think they meant to say reduced, but clearly in-game that is a 0.01? I don't know what's happening here. Regardless, it's supposed to be a nerf. It's supposed to be lower. They might hotfix that very, very soon. Oh boy, someone forgot a 0. I gotta say, I really like the past 2 sets of balance changes that they've done for Graves, because it really feels like they're going in the right direction with her. So let's take a look at what they did. It's not all nerfs, it's not all buffs, it's just a lot of really smart changes. First of all, I didn't know this, but apparently her weapon was not working with close quarters and point blank. I never actually tried to use these items, so that's why I didn't know, but always good to see a bug fix. And they also fixed fire rate bonuses, sometimes increasing the fire rate by a lower amount than intended, so that's going to be a buff for gun builds, especially with items like Ricochet and Active Reload and Vampiric Burst, and all these items increasing her fire rate. However, they did reduce the gun's range by 2 meters, so you have to be even closer now to actually latch onto a target. So they're really trying to make this character use as much skill as is necessary to position herself smartly to make up for the fact that she has an auto-aim weapon. They also did buff her base move speed pretty substantially from 6.6 to 7 meters per second, and this is also a compensatory buff for the fact that she has less range. Now let's take a look at the Jar of the Dead. So now she actually starts the match with 2 Jars of Dead instead of 1, which is very nice for overall early lane tempo, and they made the Jar of Dead's initial attacks much more staggered rather than all at once. And this will hopefully mean that the enemies won't kill all of your minions right away in one fell swoop. The minions are still really easy to kill with just a light melee or a couple of bullets, but now they won't be as clustered up, but they'll still be latching to the target pretty easily. So I think this is just a really good change overall for the consistency of the Jars of the Dead for Graves, without making them too much more difficult to handle on the enemy side. Finally, they massively boosted the pickup range of Death, so it went from 10 meters up to 18 meters, which I believe is the same range as the pickup range for Souls on the lane, which is very reasonable indeed, and honestly I was surprised that the pickup range wasn't the same for that. So that's going to make it a lot easier to actually collect death. You can see I just picked that up there, picked that death up there, and if that guy dies all the way back there, yep, I get the soul and the death, so that just feels very intuitive now. Finally, they did another round of nerfs for Borrowed Decree, which is absolutely welcome. This ability is still really strong. First of all, they nerfed the cooldown from 110 seconds up to 120 seconds. Still a pretty low cooldown, but yeah, this was definitely needed. And second of all, they made the ghouls a little bit easier to manage. So the ghouls will now be slowed by 20% for half a second when taking bullet damage. So they're less likely to reach you and explode on you before you're able to take them out with gun damage. Just gonna make them a little bit easier to manage without necessarily reducing their damage, which I think is smart. Finally, let's take a look at the item changes before we talk about Street Brawl real quick. So, first of all, they slightly buffed the Spirit Resist of Dispel Magic from 14 up to 16%. Okay, I still don't think they needed to nerf this item as hard as they did though. And Fury Trance also got a nerf, going from 35% down to 30% fire rate. Mystic Reverb got a huge amount of lifesteal in the recent balance patch, and so they slightly toned that back down to 27% from 30%. Finally, the resilience items, bullet resilience and spirit resilience, have seen some adjustments. First of all, the health threshold has been improved from 35% up to 40%. However, the bullet resist and spirit resist have been lowered from 30% down to 22%, so they're more consistent but less effective. And finally, just to cap things off, let's talk about the Street Brawl changes. So, healing in base is now 2x faster, making it easier to rotate back to base and then get back in the fight. They also extended the randoming bonus reroll to round 3, so if you queue for a random hero, you get a second reroll on round 1, 2, and now round 3. As for the hero-specific changes, there are only 2. McGinnis's Heavy Barrage duration has been reduced from 13 seconds to 8 seconds, and Graves' Jar of Dead charge cooldown has been increased from 13 seconds to 16 seconds. But overall, Graves is probably still at least a little stronger in that mode with the Jar of the Dead because she now starts with 2 Jars of Dead every round. So yeah, that's going to do it for these balance changes. Let me know what you think about these in the comments section down below. Personally, I think that they've done a great job of balancing the new heroes based on community feedback so far, and I'm excited to see the remaining 3 heroes that we're going to have. But yeah, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future balance coverage from me, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.